So a few years later in 2024, which means you started a process in 2023, you decided to sell the company. You had the family office investors, your growth equity investors. Why did you decide to sell the company?
Life happens. It's a mixture of everything, but primarily it was a desire driven by me that I wanted a change. A lot of stuff happened in life and I wanted a change. It's just that my purpose in the life kind of switched. I wanted to do more meaningful things. I wanted to do more things. We were extremely profitable the year we sold, and my equity partners were really happy with how things are going, but sometimes it has to happen. When I exited, I moved right into building these products. So I didn't take a step back and said, I need a week of break. I don't think I took a break after the company got sold. I think I had better vacations with my family when I was still running the company. Right now, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I work till 4 in the evening. There is always this thing I heard from people all the time in my last 27 years of being in US. If you like what you do, you're not working another day. I think that is true in my case. I truly love what I do. Even if it is a situation.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Practical Founders Podcast, where every week we hear an amazing story from a serious founder who built a valuable software company and did it without big funding. I'm your host, Greg Head, and this week my guest is Dina Nagalla, the former CEO and founder of EmpowerMX, software that helps the largest airlines in the world, that we all know their names, digitize and manage their aircraft maintenance, this massive, complex industry. He got started at the beginning of the SaaS era and built the first cloud solution to do this, took these massive airline companies off of paper and built a big and valuable company with a little family office and a little growth equity funding. Very efficient. And now he's off building AI apps and has a new way of thinking about the practical founder game. It's a great interview with Dina Nagalla. Hi, Dina. Welcome to the Practical Founders Podcast.
Hey, Greg, good to meet you on this podcast. I'm
Yeah.
excited about the next 1 hour.
Yeah, the last time I talked to you, I was in Dallas. You were in India. Now you're in Dallas now. You're one of
Right,
your home turf, and I'm in Park City, Utah. And
right,
look forward to this story because you
right.
did the practical founder game with AI before, and now you're doing it in the new world again after selling your company, EmpowerMX. Let's just start with that, Dina. What was or what is EmpowerMX? Who is it for? And then we'll talk about you sold the company. We'll talk about that briefly, and then we'll go back to your journey.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. So EmpowerMX, I built over a decade plus
Yeah.
for the aircraft maintenance. Basically, we automated aircraft maintenance from the time the aircraft gets pulled of flying and to the time where it is ready to go back to a revenue operating flight. So 2 years ago, we went into the process of selling, and it took approximately 6 to 9 months to finish up the process.
Okay.
And there are big companies that went after buying EmpowerMX. Finally, IFS.ai,
Yeah.
an industrial AI company, acquired us, and just recently I left IFS. I'm doing my own
Okay. You're
products
on the
right
other
now.
side.
So I'm
Yeah.
on the other side. Yes.
Well, so you built EmpowerMX for the aircraft maintenance industry, and this isn't for
Right.
small aircraft. This is for the
Right.
major airlines that we all know, right?
That's correct. All the majors are my customers. That
Yeah.
includes American Airlines, Delta, at some point Southwest, United Airlines, and large MROs like MRO Holdings, Qatar, and Joranco
Yeah.
all use my software at some point or the other.
So, because it's a $1 billion problem for each of them to take an aircraft out of flying and
Right.
generating revenue, and all the regulation and sophistication to make sure
Right.
that everything is done right. What
Right.
exactly did your software do in this process? Did it track everything, and it did all the compliance and project management, or
Right.
what did it do?
So we digitized the entire aircraft maintenance execution process.
Okay.
So, like I said, the moment aircraft gets pulled, depending on the size of the aircraft maintenance check you are performing, it can go anywhere from few hours to 30, 45 days, sometimes 6 months,
Yeah.
depending on the size of the check.
Yeah.
So we take all that complexity, we drill it down to if 60 people come in a specific shift to work on the aircraft, we
Okay.
basically tell who is supposed to work on what card.
Right.
Then we have all these cool dashboards that will tell you where exactly you are in the process of maintenance. The entire process of automating, allocating check, digitally executing the tasks, signing off the tasks to releasing the aircraft.
Yeah.
The beauty of that entire process is it saves at a minimum, we saved like 10%. If a check costs you like $1 million to execute,
Right.
it'll save $100,000 directly. So
Right.
it's going to give you money back when the software was used.
Okay. So it literally ran the whole complex maintenance process,
Right,
and scheduling and maybe parts
right.
allocation and all that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
were they coming from paper systems or dozens of individual systems to your system?
right. Most times we replaced paper system.
Wow. So you were
Very
the first
seldom.
digital system for
Yes.
aircraft maintenance for the big guys.
Yeah, I still
Wow.
think we are the only digital system out there that automated the entire
I
process
see.
of planning manpower, planning tasks, digitizing the entire execution of the task.
Okay. Well, that's no small product there. So I know you
Right,
spent a long time building that, and you did it without venture funding. We'll talk about your journey there. How big
right,
was EmpowerMX in revenues and employees? Roughly, what can you say when you
right.
sold the company in 2024?
I can't say a whole lot of that,
Okay.
but there is one thing. Yes, we didn't have any venture funding. However, there is a family office in Minneapolis that supported the growth
Yeah.
of the company,
Okay.
and then a private equity firm, Argentum Capital Partners, out of
Like
New
a growth
York.
equity, the
Yeah,
practical
growth
help
equity.
you get up
Yes,
to the next level thing.
yes,
Yes.
that's absolutely right. So they
And
support our journey. So the company is not a two pizza slot.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
We grew quite a bit, and by the time when we finished the selling of the company, we were quite big actually. We doubled our revenues by then, and we were in an exciting phase.
So were you
Yeah,
closer to
yeah.
10 or 50 or 100 million in that? I mean, can you say how big this I don't think it was a small company.
Well, I can say we're middle double-digit growth company.
Okay, great. All right. So great. And you had some practical funding along the way. That family office
Yes,
thing that
yes,
some
right,
founders run across in big cities.
right,
Dallas has a lot of family office funding when you want to stay away from venture funding. You did the growth
right,
equity round and you sold
right.
it to IFS, who is a strategic player in this industry, not like a private equity player in this industry. Or is it private
Yes.
equity backed, I guess?
IFS is private equity
Oh,
backed
there we go.
too,
Okay.
but they are one of the largest industrial AI companies. They have a very large aviation practice. I think the largest of all the
Yeah.
aviation companies, software
Wow.
companies out there. I think they are the largest. They have a big commercial play and defense play, and they acquired us, and we became the execution wing of their product.
Okay. Wow, great. And
Right,
so that's been a couple years. You had
right,
a year or 2 of transition, and
right,
now you're no longer there. You're working about on other things. We'll talk about that too. Life
right,
after and all your new ventures. I know you
right,
literally have a portfolio of companies you're working on now.
right.
Um,
No, absolutely. I'm pretty excited about them.
yes, that's amazing. Well,
Right.
congratulations. What a
Thank
journey.
you. Thank you.
Did you feel like you were crazy all this time to go after such a hard problem with these airline businesses, which are kind of challenging without venture funding or, I know you had some background in that business, but,
Right.
did it make sense to you and you had to convince everybody to go this direction, or were you there at the right time? How
No, I think, see, that's an interesting question. See, I started my career in aviation with American Airlines. So I've been part of the aircraft maintenance right from day one of my working life.
But you were
So
doing, let's say, IT, you
I'm building systems for optimizing different aspects of aircraft
right.
maintenance. But, since I'm always on the hangar working with my customers,
Ah,
you know, I developed a passion towards that.
yeah.
So when we started fixing the problem, it's a real problem.
Yeah.
So yes, fundraising has always been a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Any growth company for a niche like aircraft maintenance, it's always been a challenge. But the idea of solving a problem, but
Yeah.
the idea of putting a tool out there for technicians that can optimize work for such a large asset that can have a direct impact on the consumer
Yeah.
was always exciting.
Yeah.
So when we are rolling the product out from company after company, and these companies are really large aviation companies that are ferrying millions of customers annually, there was never a boring moment.
Yes. Well, very exciting. So
Right,
so,
right,
you started out building systems for these airlines. You identified the
right,
problem, right, in the early
right.
days, and you said it's a bigger problem than you all see trying to you make me do these little projects, and you went
Right,
off and created this. Are you a technical founder? Meaning, I know you grew up in India, you went to IIT and,
right.
then Cornell here, and were you a technical guy, a software engineer, or are you a different kind of problem solver?
Yes.
In.
My at heart, I'm a problem solver,
Yeah,
a creative problem solver, but my trade is always technology.
yeah.
I mean, as we speak, I am simultaneously designing and vibe coding a product as
Yeah,
we
of
speak
course.
right now.
I know, of
Okay.
course. Yes, right.
So I don't think you can ever take the technology away from me,
Yeah,
but most importantly, you can't take the creative problem solving aspect away from me.
right. Well, this is a practical founder journey selling to
Right.
enterprises, a wicked problem, getting them off of paper, uh,
Right.
being efficient with your funding. It apparently
Right.
wasn't sexy for VC,
Right.
funding, and so you kinda scrapped it up and built a sizable, company and eventually sold it to a strategic investor. That's a great practical founder story. Let's go back here. Like, you did grow up in India, right? You went to the
Yes,
Ivy
correct.
League, engineering
Yes.
school in India, and then you went to
Right.
Cornell here, and then into corporate America, you know?
Right.
D
Right.
did you think you were going into the airline industry, or is that just where the opportunity popped up and you said, "This is an interesting problem"?
No, no, I never thought I was going to go into airline industry. Right when I received the call, I was out there writing a Visual Basic program
Yes.
to optimize refrigeration for truck industry at IIT Bombay.
Yeah, right.
So from there, when I received the call, hey, do you want to go work at an aviation firm? Like, okay, what will be that firm? American Airlines. It's a division of American Airlines, IT division of American Airlines. I was like, that sounds exciting.
Yeah,
Sign me up.
okay.
And there you go. That's how my journey started.
Okay. So you both had a technical background and you got to understand the
Right,
industry problem, a deep one of
right,
the many
right,
deep industry problems that are going on there. Uh, some of us run across that when we fly and there's a maintenance there. The quick
right.
maintenance, it still has to be tracked and recorded and managed and all of that kind of thing. So
Correct.
awesome. So what was special about this? Was this cloud software of the era? I think you started it in 2011. Was it just a big
So
cloud application with all the, like ERP, enterprise resource planning, like the big complex forms and customizations, or what was the secret sauce there?
So back in the day, I was the first native cloud product when we first deployed it in AWS,
Yeah.
and we're also mobile first cloud native product
Okay.
that was out there. I still remember a story when I was at a conference, one of my other Canadian competition, when I was telling why people should move to cloud and how
Mhm.
it is going to not only save money, but it helps the customers because it provides natively a lot of services we try to build, along with security, fault
Yeah.
tolerance, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. He came up on the stage, he was yelling pretty much and telling me that I don't think cloud will ever work. Finance industry will go down if they go onto the cloud.
Yeah.
Canadian banking will never sign up. I still distinctly remember that discussion at a conference. So from there now to AI, what's going on
Yeah,
is
it sounds a
quite
little
amazing to
familiar
me.
to today's AI
Yeah,
conversation, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and both
yeah,
of which
exactly.
are practical revolutions. So it didn't take
Right, right.
a mountain of funding to go build something quite sizable for big enterprises there, right? How big was
That's
the
absolutely
original
right.
team that got the first product? I know it wasn't your final product, but how many
Right.
engineers did you need to build for this, start solving this big problem?
It was a very small team, 11 to 12 people, but then we quickly grew because this software is akin to something like SAP, but applied for
Right.
aircraft execution, very practical problem.
Yeah.
So we grew to, 90, 100 plus people, and then we continue growing from there.
You're based in Dallas these days, where American
Yes,
Airlines is, and
right,
the north side of town there, and
right.
most of your team was in India, right?
Yes, we have a sizable team in India, and
Yeah.
then we also have all the technology leadership, business leadership, always happen from US.
Okay.
I have a team. I used to have a team back in Dallas, all the technology leadership team and a bit of sales and business leadership always happen from Dallas.
Okay.
But my implementation and some of the subject matter expertise, they're kind of all over US.
Okay.
I never cared for having everyone in the office
Yeah.
because we built a team that's quite efficient and can work from anywhere in the world.
Okay. That's
Right,
amazing. Another practical thing, right? Which is
right,
a
right,
efficient team in India and remote people all over.
right.
About how much would an airline spend with you every year? Presumably, you had a multi-year kind of SaaS-like contract. Was
Right.
this $1 million of software
At a
to run 'em?
minimum, if you are the smallest, you are paying couple hundred thousands. To if you are the largest, several $1 million a year.
Okay, right. That's a really
Right.
big thing. Big iron.
Right, it is. It
Yeah,
is. When you have 1,000 aircrafts and 10,000 plus mechanics, one of the largest airlines, and you have to spend a lot because remember what I just said before. You are saving at a minimum 10% on your hangar maintenance event,
yeah,
and as you scale to 50 hangar operations, right, 50 bays
yeah,
where thousands of mechanics are working, you're saving quite a bit of money.
yeah,
And this is a practical story. One of my customers in Middle East, when they put my software in, they were losing money hand over fist. By the time, after 5 years, maybe 7 years of usage, they have 100 plus $1 million in net revenue.
yeah,
Okay, net profit,
yeah.
and they attribute the single biggest reason why they're saving as much of money as much as money they said they were saving and their growth directly to the software.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So in the early days, your first few
right,
customers, right? They're all big. They're big
right,
contracts to get up and growing. What was the
right,
biggest challenge to selling it? Was it the CFO saying, I don't wanna spend that much? Was it the frontline people saying, "We don't wanna use iPads"? Was it somewhere in the middle management or IT saying, "We don't want cloud"? You were early, this small company selling to giants,
right,
these giant
right,
companies, global
right,
companies. What
right.
what was the biggest challenge for you to overcome when you were selling?
Yeah, it's a mixture of everything you said there, honestly. But the biggest issue we faced is suspicion and doubt that we can actually save the money that we are telling them we could save them.
Ah,
But once we get the maintenance leadership over the hump, they fought to putting the software inside their operation.
right.
Mechanics or technicians
Yeah,
always looked at that, is this a tool to spy on their work,
right.
right?
Uh-huh.
So we have to build trust with the end users to believe that this is in the toolbox.
Yeah,
IT back in when we were putting the software, cloud is quite new, and IT had a suspicion that, oh, putting it outside their secure network, they always have concerns. So my customers, who is leadership of the hangar maintenance,
ah,
they actually fought hard to bring our software in, and we paid back not only with efficiencies, but giving them the best data possible to
Yes.
make the smartest decisions possible.
This podcast is sponsored by my friends at Lighter Capital. In the last 15 years, Lighter Capital has helped over 600 software and SaaS founders secure simple, non dilutive financing to grow a little faster without giving up any precious equity to investors. I know the Lighter team well, and several bootstrap founders they have helped have already shared their success stories on this podcast. Simple debt funding from Lighter Capital can range from $50,000 up to $10 million with straightforward terms, no personal guarantees, board seats, or covenants, and up to a 4-year payback period. Go to lightercapital.com, that's Lighther capital.com, to apply and get a quick pre-qualification. Then talk with their experienced team to create a practical funding plan to achieve your goals. Now back to our podcast. Yeah, it's a classic before and after digital
Yeah,
software that runs your business. I was part of the CRM industry before, it was
right,
digitized, I guess you'd say, and there was software
right,
for it. The life of, there's paper forms and you have no idea what's going on. You have to walk around to see where things are, and everything's
right,
slow. And I totally get it there.
right.
So, did you sell the first customers, or did you eventually have salespeople? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, see, any CEO of any company, if you go ask them, they are the chief sales officer,
Yes.
honestly.
Yeah.
Not only their job is to make sure that they are the true leader for the company, buck stops with them,
Yes.
but they have to carry the trust.
Yeah.
If they do not carry the trust, I don't think the product will ever be sold.
And you had the trust because you knew the language of frontline. You said, I was there at American Airlines. I know what you do right there at every step of the way. And
Right,
you could speak to their problems if somebody who's spent time with them. Weren't
right.
working on aircraft, but you were building systems to do that.
Right. I mean, I would never claim to be an expert
Mm,
because everyone in my company employed always is an expert from the field. But the fact is, I kind of spent enough time in the environment and I was passionate about what's going on. So, I mean, automatically you'll gain some knowledge. So, it's really not about how much you know, it's really about what kind of skill are you employing to build the trust with your customers. So, we always had a mix of decent IT people who also has aviation background, but we hired people right from the floor who knows the pain of doing what they're doing.
What did you hire the people from the floor of maintenance? What did you hire them to do? Work on customer success or?
To define the problem,
Oh,
to
okay.
actually define the problem, to work with the engineers and say what exactly the engineers are solving.
Right.
Is what best can you do other than bringing folks from the floor and say, hey guys, here you are innovative, you are creative, you have the vision to solve the problem on the floor. Why don't you now help the engineer to exactly do that? It's exciting, right?
Right.
Which is why my product was never looked like a software. It always looked like a tool in the toolbox. That's my favorite thing to that's my favorite thing to say.
What do you mean by that?
See, when you use SAP, no one will say I'm using SAP. So no one will say that it's a tool in my toolbox. I love using SAP. Right? It's a necessary evil. You have to go to a computer and use it. Whereas EmpowerMX, when a mechanic or a planner goes into the software to do their job, they don't feel like they're entering the software. It's like picking the wrench up from their toolbox.
Yeah.
It's truly helping them do a job that makes them efficient.
Yeah.
They never looked at like it's they're using a software program. They looked at it as if it's another tool in the toolbox.
Well, the CRM industry went that way. At first, it was software
Right,
to keep track of us,
right,
and it was painful, and
right.
it took half a day to enter all this stuff, and then it got easier and better, stronger, faster, a tool in the toolbox
Yes,
that
exactly,
that still
exactly.
helps you
Yes,
manage all of that.
right,
So,
right.
which came first? Some of your bigger accounts and contracts that created revenue, so customer funding, or family office? You needed a little funding perhaps to go build the product for those first customers? Which
In my case, right from day one, I had support from the family office. Bill Brown, an
Okay.
amazing partner in my journey.
Okay.
He always supported the company when we started.
Okay.
It's
So you
from
would
day
say
one.
like an angel there, and a family
Yes,
office is
right,
like an angel investor, but they have like literally a formal investing part of their wealth in
right,
crazy companies. So you said they helped pretty early. In Dallas, there's a
right.
lot of them. How did you get connected to this network? Do you
So Whitecliff Capital Partners, they are from Minnesota.
Okay.
So the company was originally started in Minnesota.
Oh, I see.
So I later in 2012, I moved to Dallas um, because I think I had enough of the cold weather by then.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's a Minnesota family that
It's a
invested.
Minnesota
And
family.
how did you
Yes,
get
yes.
connected to them? Did they like the airline industry or did you
Yes, they
yeah.
were also invested into another company prior to EmpowerMX, and I was supporting that company as CTO. And later, when we started this, we decided to kind of go into business by starting this. That's kind of how we did it.
Yeah. And did you ever evaluate, just bootstrapping or venture funding? Did you try the venture funding route and didn't get much interest? How did that go
And
about?
back when we were doing the aviation, we never went after venture funding.
Right.
However,
Yeah.
I've been with some friends and stuff. I'm bootstrapping 7 different products right now,
Yeah.
all in the different space. And now I'm kind of evaluating to go about venture funding. My goal is to build the products to how I want to build them, and then get the traction for each of these products, and then go and see if I should go get venture money to scale and grow the product and grow the
Yeah.
companies.
Okay. So you're still open to that. Can you
Oh,
say how
yes.
much was it, did they this family office in Minnesota, did they invest less than 1,000,000 and then a little bit more later or, how did that what can you say about that?
No, I think they invested several $1 million into the
Okay.
product,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, due to non-disclosure reasons,
Yeah.
I won't be able to
Okay.
get into it. But yes,
Okay. So, you grew the company, and so you started
right,
this was the early days of SaaS, and it was the early days
right,
of cloud for enterprise,
right,
the early
right.
2010s, right?
Yes, yes,
VCs
yes.
were learning to
Yeah,
speak SaaS. Now they're
right,
learning to speak AI and all the rest of
right.
it here. Was
Yeah.
it, you did you just get 1 account and then 2 and 3 and you keep expanding and play this multiplying game? I mean, there isn't like an infinite number of global airline companies.
No, no, there aren't. You really need to kind of now understand. My first customer on cloud was Delta Airlines.
Okay.
Can you imagine the one of the largest
Yes.
airlines trusting
Start at the
a
top, right.
smaller company?
Right.
Yes, and that's the best thing that happened to us.
Oh,
And
wow.
then Embraer aircraft maintenance out of Nashville. They next came on Southwest Airlines, United. They use the software. Continental actually back then for a while at their hangar facilities, and then American Airlines, who I worked, was also my largest customer. They moved into cloud. Uh, I think in 2015 or something like that. And from there on, Americans' entire maintenance, their base, their line maintenance operations, they all happen on the EmpowerMX software right now. We
Yeah.
completely digitized their maintenance, both in planned heavy maintenance, and now we're my team in the process. My ex team is in the process of
Yeah.
transitioning them their line operations also into the same product.
Look at you. You're still learning to say that, my former company and my ex team and all of that. I get it after so
Yeah,
long and,
really
that
tough, really
yeah.
tough to do that.
Um, these days with that much data, right,
Uh-huh.
in workflows and all of that, we'd be talking about the AI impact of
Right.
analysis and recommendations and getting things done, workflows and all the rest of that. Was there any AI in the product back then with all that data?
Yes, yes. It's not the same generative AI,
Yeah.
OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, all those huge LLMs that came into play. It was a custom built LLM, using algorithms that were supporting machine learning, and then the AI algorithms we built were right on top of it. So we're doing some exciting stuff with it, predictive non-routines, so predictive work, predictive manpower algorithms, parts prediction, all of that cool things we were doing. So right when we are getting into thick of it, actually sold the company, and then the generative AI is coming into play.
Yeah.
But by then, the AI we put into the software, we're not new to it. It's doing some amazing stuff for my customers.
Yeah. Okay, that's great.
Right. Yeah.
In 2018, 7 years after you got started, you took
Right.
a growth equity round, which is a practical acceleration funding. It's not crazy venture funding. It's not selling the company yet. It's a first bite of private equity, right, that wants to help
Right.
you grow faster. Why did
Right.
you that was Argentum back in 2018.
Right.
Why did
Right.
you take that round, and how did it help you?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically growth. We needed to expand globally outside US, and then and then it also helps not only in the expansion. Argentum, Chris Leong, who I was working with, and Dan, they're excellent partners. Not
Yeah.
only they helped with bringing the funding in, but they also helped from creating partnerships outside US and with large customers that I've been working with. They
So they
also helped
literally
in
brought
bringing
you
other
customers, these
companies.
investors did, yeah.
Yes, yes. I mean, I don't think I can ask for a better partner in the journey, from a growth standpoint from that time on.
And so you needed funding for growth. Does that look like
Right,
add salespeople and staff in these countries before you can sell the accounts and, that, little and forward investment, which wasn't huge, but, that's a
right.
forward investment?
Yeah, both for product expansion
Okay,
and also for sales and marketing expansion
yeah.
globally. So they help tremendously kind of move that needle quite a bit.
So you started to grow, you made these investments, put this little money to
Right.
work, and then COVID happened, yeah, which was a nightmare for the
Yes.
airline industry
Right.
and
Right.
flying. How did you get through that?
Yeah, see, that was I think once I started EmpowerMX, I think I had like 3 or 4 tough years that really took a toll on us, right? One is
Mm,
an economic downturn, and the second economic downturn, and then COVID. Interestingly, COVID took us, I mean, we are 100% SaaS company, took us down to zero. But for about 6 months, there isn't a lot of maintenance happening. All my models are powered by the our models.
mhm,
So my finances, like the incoming dollars, kind of went down quite dramatically. The beauty of my investors is they realize that company is going through a tough time, so they support the company.
mm.
So I have to really give them the
Yes,
necessary kudos there. They were behind us. But guess what? Within 6 months, it changed us quite a bit for us, because what COVID also did is put an emphasis on digitization more than it
right,
ever happened before.
right.
The remote working has become a critical part of it. Digitization has become very important because no one wants to even give a shake hand. So when paper gets transitioned between people, you are also passing germs, right?
Right. And you were
So
doing it all these years, convincing people to get off of paper and the benefits
right.
of digital systems to run all this, and COVID just accelerated all of that and convinced everybody to go digital at
Yes,
last.
we
Yeah,
hit rock bottom, but from that rock bottom, we sprung off like a crazy, and then now, we never look back after COVID.
yeah. So when you say
So,
your revenue went down to almost 0 because there wasn't any aircraft maintenance, planes weren't moving.
yes,
Yeah,
most of my customers, either they needed a big break because there is not revenue coming for them,
right.
and then of course there is no aircraft maintenance happening for a period of time.
So
So then we started
I'm just thinking
recoveries.
about how you, sold this. Did you have an annual contract for a certain amount, or was it more transactional based on the amount of maintenance they were doing?
Yeah, we always had a base fees on each contract.
Yeah,
Then we do power by the hour model.
okay.
So the number of labor hours you put in, is how we get billed. So it's easy for my customers because they get paid by labor hour.
Yeah.
So it's easy for us to say you're paying 50 cents on a dollar to lease our software for every labor hour you put into the software.
Right.
But we always had a base amount to actually run their operation. And then on the top, we got paid for the number of hours they're putting into the software.
Okay. So you came out of COVID, I hear a little stronger, right?
Right.
As a company in the market and airlines came back. And I mean, there was a time when we didn't know if the airlines would make it, right? To the end of COVID.
Right, right, right.
It's pretty
It
crazy.
was a scary time for
Yeah.
a period of time there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you came out and the company started growing faster. So a few years later in 2024, which means you started a process in 2023, you decided to sell the company. You had the family office investors, your growth equity investors. They invest to someday get paid back when you sell it. What was your thinking behind selling the company? Has it been over 10 years in a very tough market and you're a little tired and you just survived COVID and let's find a home for this? Or what? I know, why did you decide to sell the company with the board, your investors?
Life happens.
Yeah.
It's a mixture of everything, but primarily it was a desire driven by me that I want to do something different.
Okay.
Uh, you know, so so do I look back and think about it? Yes, I do. But it's primarily driven by me.
Yeah.
That I wanted a change. A
Yeah.
lot of stuff happened in life, and I wanted a change.
Yeah.
And here we
Can
are.
can you describe it as, okay, we're a big company selling to other big companies, and I'm a creative builder, entrepreneur. I wanna go back to go create things. Did it get too big and not at much fun? Or now that it
No,
yeah.
no, it's just that my purpose in the life kind of switched.
Okay. Yeah.
I wanted to do more meaningful things. I want to do more things. You're not getting younger, right?
Yeah.
So once the purpose changed, I wanted to do more meaningful things in life that gives me significantly more satisfaction. I mean, what I was doing, I was enjoying to the core of it. I'm working with
Yeah.
a fabulous team. I'm working
Yeah.
with some fabulous investors. Don't get me wrong. However, once I feel like I have a different purpose in life, I started making changes towards that.
Okay. So you say you hired a banker and,
Right.
less than a year later, you sold the company. Did you sell all the company to IFS and
Yes. Yes.
okay, and
All
there's somebody
assets were
else
sold
running the
to FA.
company? Was that part of the agreement? I'm gonna sell the company, you're gonna buy all of it or almost all of it, and, somebody else is gonna run it pretty quickly?
Yes. IFS is I guess a large company. It's
Yeah, yeah.
$1.5 billion company. So their A&D division itself is humongous, right? So my team once the acquisition got finished, about a year or so it took, uh, I exited then. So the team got merged into IFS A&D division. Even
Okay.
though EmpowerMX is kind of sold as a separate software still,
Yeah.
the team is now merged with IFS A&D division.
Okay. And did you stay on as an advisor consultant kind of thing, or did you not?
No,
Why?
yeah, I don't want to do moonlighting ever for anyone. So I had a clean exit,
Oh, great.
and now
Yeah.
I'm focused on doing my own stuff.
Yeah, congratulations. What was the
Yeah,
most interesting thing about that acquisition process the first time you went through it? Like, what was the most interesting thing that you can talk about here? Uh, you know, was it the crisis of due diligence or I don't know,
right.
the SaaS market multiples were coming down quickly or I don't know, what was most challenging about that?
The most challenging thing for me was managing employee emotions.
Oh,
See, my team has been with me, 80+% of the team, both offshore and onshore, including my investors, stayed with me all through this journey. So we saw the best and worst of us during the best and worst of our times. So it's been a challenge to lose our identity because each and every member of EmpowerMX team was very passionate about what they're doing, what we are doing to our customers.
Hmm.
They never thought they're building the software for someone else. It's they kind of all dealt with as their own software. I have seen, I have hired young interns right out of school when we began this company, now to a point where they're all married and have adult kids. So
And they're
it
all
was a very
leadership
long
positions now.
journey.
Yeah, all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it
That's
was. I think that's the toughest part. Then, of course, everything else that kind of goes with selling the company. Who you thought you want to sell, who finally buys the company, everything that happens in between is unpredictable. You just have to deal with all the highs and lows along the way.
right. And you didn't have to sell it. I mean, you wanted to sell it. It
No,
was profitable, I think.
no,
Yeah. Was
no,
it
no.
very
We
profitable?
were
Yeah.
extremely profitable the year we sold, and my employees were sorry, my equity partners were really happy with how things are going. But
Yeah.
sometimes it has to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Well, it usually happens the other way around. The founder is having fun, and the investors say,
Right,
"All right, now's time to get paid back," and party's
right, right,
over,
right,
kind of thing.
right,
So it was bittersweet to sell your company after your team had been through everything with you for so long.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting. And what did you do? When it finally happened, the papers were signed, the money was transferred, you had the meetings and the transfer and told your customers and your employees. Did you have this experience a month later where you sat on the beach and looked out at the ocean and said, wow, this is a different world all of a sudden? What was that like?
You know, Someone asked me this question 2 months ago. Exactly. Actually, a venture guy. That's the first time I really thought about, oh, you know what? I didn't do anything. I, I moved from, I moved from, see, my work with the company did not change even after sale.
Yes.
But
Okay.
when I exited, I moved right into building these products. So I didn't like
We
take a
didn't take a
step
break.
back and
Yeah.
said
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I need a week of break.
Yeah.
I don't think I took a break after the company got sold. I think I had better vacations with my family when I was still running the company. Right now, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I work till 4 in the evening, then I spend another 2 hours late in the evening building the ventures that I'm building right now.
Okay, so you didn't take a break, you went right straight to the next
No, I
thing.
did not. I
Yeah.
did not. I
Yeah,
think I need one.
that's a very typical thing for practical founders. The question is
Right,
usually, how long did it
right,
take before you got back in the game and you were there
right,
right away? Uh,
right,
that kind of
right.
thing. But,
Yeah, I don't think I got a weekend also either. So,
yeah, but you said it's a different kind of passion that what you were
right.
focused on. Is it just the startup building passion in the new AI era that fuels you, or what is the passion that fuels you now?
There is always this thing I heard from people all the time, right? In my last 27 years of being in US, if you like what you do, you're not working another
Yeah,
day.
right.
I think that is true in my case. I truly love what I do, even if it is a situation where I was waiting at the bank to make sure the wire has come in,
Yes.
so I can transfer that money to the payroll account. Right. Even during then, I enjoyed.
Yeah,
I never looked at my work as anything different from raising my kids.
yeah.
My kids know every employee by name, even though they might not have met more than 50% of them, because they listen to me talk in the car, on the phone, all the time, right? So that's how much intrinsic work and life has been for me. Like I said,
Yeah.
I enjoy what I do. I'm loving what I'm building now. So all of this has a purpose, and my kids are involved also in the
Oh, how fun.
purpose
Yeah,
somehow or the other. So yeah,
yeah.
it
And
worked out
and
well.
somewhere in there, I don't know when exactly, but you wrote a book called Becoming
Right,
Human, right? That's
right,
out on
right.
Amazon as well. When was that?
The book was released in at March of 2025.
Okay, so
Um,
during the transition or something like that, yeah?
yes, but the content was written for almost for 4 or 5 years.
Oh, okay, great.
Yes, they were all like you know most of the thoughts were written in my 16-hour flights to Middle East,
Yeah,
connecting to
yeah,
Europe or connecting to
right.
India, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I look back, I had about 467 emails, drafts. That's how I kind of used to write,
Oh, okay,
like a
right to
draft
yourself. Yeah,
email.
yeah.
Yeah, multiple paragraphs were written, over a period of time. So all those thoughts became the basis for becoming human when I finally pulled it as a book.
Well, that's,
Right.
your typical tech CEO in a aircraft enterprise maintenance industry SaaS product that builds
Right.
global company. You wouldn't usually expect them to write a book called Becoming Human, right? Because it's all about efficiency and data and all the,
Right.
the nuts and bolts of the business. What's the general idea of the book?
Like I said, over decades of your life, suddenly life happens differently. When that happens, you kind of start rethinking the purpose. And you know, one of my favorite things to tell is when people ask me, are we not humans? We are born humans. What do you mean becoming human means? Yes, when we are born, we are truly born as humans, but along the way, we lose our path as we grow. So
Mm,
then at some point during the path, we start becoming human again because something, a meteor kicks us back into the orbit and says, okay, come back to your purpose.
yeah.
So something like that happened in my own life. Then I start rethinking the process of life, which I in verbatim I put that into the book. Yeah, I didn't see they right now between social media and a lot of philosophical books out there.
Mhm.
Everything tells you how you should live. Nothing tells you the way you are is the way you are. Imperfections are the perfect imperfections in life.
Mhm.
So the context and the story of the book is why don't you live embracing your imperfections, and instead of beating yourself up on how to change your life, embrace them and live your life like the way you're supposed to. So that's what the book is about.
Okay. So, Dina Carr, this is a great philosophical question for crazy entrepreneurs, right? That
Right,
typically are a little unsettled. That's why they're racing and solving problems
right,
and so forth.
right.
But how can you both be ambitious about solving hard problems in the world and comfortable with yourself and how it is? This is a age-old question, of course, but how do you pose that?
That's honestly a great question and something I wrestle with very often. See, for-profit businesses, along the way, you test the boundaries of morality. You because oftentimes you put a marketing moat around what you're doing. Not often you are honest about what you're doing. What the product was supposed to do or what it does. There are a lot of things you kind of expand on beyond what the truth is. So I honestly wrestle with those things every day, right? What is the reality? What's the ethical boundary that you are forming yourself that you don't want to cross? So the concept of life I bought into is no one wrote it before we came on our paths to become a sage. What was written is as you live, enjoy what you're doing, be the best you can be in the things you do. Make sure to build a legacy with your offsprings, not through wealth, not through establishing large companies, but build your next, generations of kids that grow up to be responsible adults. That's a simple fact of life.
Uh-huh.
So when you take that into consideration, and you think about what you are about to serve. And instead of looking at how everyone is doing business, I realize you can be honest, you can be ethical, you can still do what you're doing, enjoy the enjoy the money you make along the way, simultaneously giving what you're earning and lifting people up,
Yes.
giving hand where you can, without losing your dignity, without losing what you want to do in life, and still enjoying the pleasures of life. So I think one has to find that balance. And for me, becoming human, now I want to bring that to closure here, is kind of giving you that sense saying, find that balance where you can do what you want to do in life, be the right father, be a right friend, be a good partner, and still can give a hand to someone in need and lift them up, and it can enjoy the pleasures of life simultaneously. If what I said makes sense to you,
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
be happy to take on any more questions
Yeah.
about the topic.
We'll have a link to your book there. This is an
Right,
important one for practical founders who get it's a very challenging thing, and pushing something new into the world and keeping a company afloat with all the crisis and managing ourselves stretches
right,
the moral boundaries. And
right,
I think the practical founder path, not being overfunded with crazy expectations that make you do crazy things, and
right,
having more control over your businesses can create businesses and lives and for
right,
employees and customers and your family and yourself that are more positive overall and don't really have to cross the moral lines that happen when big money gets involved, as it does,
right,
and
right,
other things. So it's a very interesting challenge. Every founder faces moral challenges as they're building their
right,
company, and a half truth or
right.
it's very challenging in the software business. The old joke in software is, speaking of telling the truth,
Right.
what's the difference between marketing people and salespeople in software? And the answer is salespeople know they're not telling the truth.
Okay.
That's an
What
old
about
joke.
marketing people?
Yeah, they don't know they're lying is really the thing, right?
Okay.
'Cause, it is. It's not a simple game there, so I totally appreciate that. It's one of the reasons I advocate for founders to be light on funding and heavy on control and build sustainable businesses. They can
Right.
stay in more of, closer to the moral lines that they're comfortable with for everybody involved. So, I'll put a link to that book there.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Nina Carr, you have a portfolio of AI companies now that you are
Right.
working on with your team in India, right? I don't know if any of your old employees are with you, the band back together. What are you working on now? And how is it all connected?
Right. Yes. No, I need to follow bit of an ethical boundary there too, in not taking away the employees.
Yes.
At some
Yeah,
point,
yeah,
when the time is right, if they feel like they want to come join me, I will always
yeah,
be
okay.
happy to take them on, right? But that happens in a natural course of time. So the products I'm building around are, around how do you humanize AI?
Hmm.
How can you apply AI to improve overall quality of life? That's kind of what I'm
For
focused on right
humans, not
now.
to make it
For
AI
humans,
more
for humans.
human-like. Yeah.
Right, right, right. So it's I constantly wrestle with, who am I replacing? And am I replacing? Am I improving? I constantly wrestle with that question.
A
So
big moral question with AI for entrepreneurs.
right,
Yeah.
right. It's a very challenging question. You look around, people are making AI the scapegoat, large companies. It could be the truth, one way or the other. Thousands of people every day are getting laid off under the pretext of AI coming in and taking over the jobs. You fast forward, if you're a technology visionary, a little bit practical. You don't have to be a visionary per se. You look into the future and see how AI can help, what it can do. There are always two paths you can take. One path is to replace. Okay, then what's the point of being a human? If everything is done by AI, done by robots, what are humans going to do? So I'm not saying that path is where we'll head. I can very much see that is the path the world will head to. But right now, my focus is humanizing it, using it for overall improving the quality. So the focus has been around mental health.
Okay.
I'm building a platform that can help overall improve mental well-being of a individual, no matter what setting you're in, family, work setting, if your kids are in school, are they school K through 12 or education. So I'm putting a platform together where overall it can help improve the mental well-being. So
Awesome.
that's my primary focus. And then
And are all the products around that space, or
one,
you have
no,
different?
that's one platform I'm
Okay.
putting. Then the next platform we're also working on is education. See, current education, I'm having this discussion with my publisher, yesterday. The biggest problem we have today is education is so behind that it's failing in teaching fundamentals.
Right.
It's also failing in showing the future.
Yes.
So then what are kids learning? We are spending days, hours, years of our life learning stuff. So I want to help revolutionize the education and support what's happening right now. Not replace a teacher, but help give them an assistant in the classroom where kids can learn infinitely. I have a practical scenario. My son one day came and said, today a class didn't go well. At the same time, I received a email from the school wanting me and my kids mom to be at the school. So we went and sat, and the teacher said, "Hey, Ishan is asking questions. The teacher can't answer. It's disrupting the class." That was the most disappointing thing I heard that day, probably in 6 years. What the hell? When a kid is asking questions and the principal has to come and tell you that the teacher couldn't answer and hence he needs to be reprimanded, is the most disappointing thing I
Yes.
heard.
Crazy.
Then I kind of took a step back and realized, you know, yeah, it's disappointing, but the teacher has a limit on how much she can learn, what she learned, and all of that stuff. So, which created the idea of giving them AI based helper that they can use to teach the students. Not only that, they can provide the tool to a student to be able to learn anything after the school also.
Right.
Okay, why can't you use ChatGPT or Claude or another tool? Because those tools are limitless. They don't have any boundaries.
Oh my
They
gosh.
don't
Yes.
contain you. They are not structured. So what I did is pull together a structured program. The product name of the product is RT, that is going to help students to improve their knowledge. Not only that, I want to be able to help students to gain knowledge about the future,
Great.
right? Using this tool.
So
So
these new
it's yeah,
ventures, are they for-profit companies, do you imagine, or nonprofit companies? Certainly, we need forces for good in the new AI world that are out there that aren't just
right,
going to be trillion-dollar funded. They're not going to be benevolent. These
right,
big LLMs, but are
right.
these going to be for profit or nonprofit?
Any of the work I do, it'll always be there for a nonprofit. Without
Okay.
that, none of my products will exist.
Yes.
So yes, they are going to be for profit because, like rightfully you said, you need a ton of money to run these platforms. You got to
Yeah.
pay developers to develop, sell, and all that stuff. But without an angle to help with students that can't afford to learn,
Yes.
without an angle to get support for mental health support for low economic zones or prison population or families that can't afford to go to a counselor or a mental health specialist, my platforms won't exist.
Yeah.
So they all will have a nonprofit angle in them.
You did the Practical Founder SaaS enterprise game with growth
Right,
equity and sold the company in the cloud and SaaS era, digitizing from paper and
right,
transforming the way literally the large airline industry does aircraft maintenance. And now
right,
you're deep with the modern AI tools and technologies, you're watching every day, as many of us are, what's happening, what's changing, keeping track of
Right.
that. What can you say about your experiments and your building and what you see with AI that can be helpful for practical founders that isn't being, in the news or the funding or the latest release or the headlines? What are you seeing that excites you?
See, I think there are laborious tasks and time to market anything back in the day, and that's a very laborious process. The biggest, the way I'm benefiting from AI is time to market. Number one thing. Second, when you look at all the ERPs or any products back in the day, a smart individual that sits in front of his desk spends 80% of the time doing data entry. So the way I'm using AI is to take away all the laborious tasks that are involved, taking away all the inefficiencies that are built into previous client server or SaaS products, right? I want to make life easy.
Yeah,
If I want to, like, for example, in the case of mental health, right? We are giving a digital twin for therapists. So when my therapist runs a session with their customer, back in the day, right after that session, they have to spend a lot of time to take down
write it down.
or
Yeah.
to transfer all the notes to the computer, right? So now I'm taking away that pain because it records, it converts, and it puts right in front of the therapist and say, okay, is this accurate? And she has to spend few minutes to read through and fix it, right? That's it. So I'm using AI to take away all these inefficient processes out of the way in everything I'm doing. I'm using AI to adapt to you, to create your own twin that helps you be better. So my mental health product, the foundational technology is creating a twin of yourself, or you can use a mentor of your own, then kind of put your desire on what that win should be.
Yeah.
And now, as you go along, lead your life, that win starts learning about you, adapting to you, helping you to be a better individual overall, and
Okay.
is built on the principles of, trusted moral living.
Right. Do you see the biggest, one of the biggest questions or debates or moral crises here with AI? Are we replacing human work with AI that does it better, faster, 24 hours a day? Or are we helping humans do better work with AI? I think most of the massive funding that's going into software is relying on we're going to take out a lot of jobs and people are going to pay us, a lot of money to not have to pay people. But do you think that's one of the biggest questions these days about AI, helping people or replacing them?
I think I'm going to do a two-part response to that. First part is you were absolutely right. 95% of the funding is going into replacing humans,
Yes.
period. Or 99%, I don't know. But my point is vast amount of money is put into replacing humans. And that is very sad. That is very sad because we're going to go through a period of pain where humans have to adapt. Another saddest part about that is significant portion of those benefits are going to go to small group of people that are dictating the terms on how AI is going to change human life. That is another sad reality. I
No.
mean, you kind of go look at the headlines and see what's happening. The vast majority of the wealth is going to be concentrated with a small percent of the people.
Yeah.
So I don't think that is going to change. I don't think someone, a majority of them are going to stand up and say, "Hey, we're going to change the way how this is going to happen." That's just not going to happen. That's just going to be the story of the life, right? No, what I'm doing, is more focused on how do I enhance the quality of life.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to replace, I'm looking to supplement, I'm looking to improvise what you're doing. All
Yeah.
my products are around that.
Yeah.
So end of the day, it's what it is. Sometimes you can't change where we are heading. You just have to kind of do your best and contribute your part and make sure you stick to your ethical and ethical boundaries. That's about all.
Yeah. That's a profound statement right there. And it's kind of the quest of practical founders, right? Build something
Right,
that
right,
we can live with and does something better for the world that creates value. You know, capitalism for good. It's not
right,
all perfect, but generally speaking, if you don't raise a lot of funding and you
right,
create enough value in the world that people pay you more than it costs you to build it, so you make a company and you can pay employees, that's a good thing, right?
right,
Capitalism works there to solve
right,
problems in the world. So thanks for being on the Practical Founders podcast and sharing your journey and how you're thinking about the world in a whole new way, Dina.
right,
That's really amazing. Thanks for your using software and capitalism for good. Thanks for
right.
contributing. Really appreciate it.
Right. And Greg, again, thank you so much for having me this 1 hour. You've seen the life. I have one question for you I want to ask before we get out. What is one thing you wish founders would stop doing immediately because it is wasting their life?
Well, there's a few things out there. The first thing that I changed my spots, I came from the venture funded old software game when that worked
Right,
pretty well and so forth. I waved my hands and said, venture funding isn't what you think it is. You don't need it like you think you do.
right,
It'll get you off on the wrong track. So that was one. That's that, and I'm now speaking to those. The thing I would say these days is to create something really valuable for customers, and AI helps us create even more valuable for customers,
right,
that solves a problem and do it efficiently. So these are just kind of laws of nature, but you get to do it your way. You get to make your business something that makes your life better. You're doing it your way, Dina Carr. There's
right,
another founder that's doing it
right,
exactly like you are. So
right,
that's
right, right,
really what I'm helping founders see. I could completely see it. The world's
right,
better when you do it using your superpowers and your perspective and
right,
your energy to create something that only you could have created.
right.
So,
Oh man, I think that was well said. That
yeah,
is that is well said. Thank you for
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Well, Greg, nice to meet you. Great 1 hour.
yeah. So,
Hopefully, we'll see each other again.
yeah, we'll see each other in Dallas. We'll find a time to meet. Really appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Thank you
Bye
so
bye.
much. Bye bye.
Thanks for watching this week's interview on the Practical Founders podcast. Be sure to like this episode and subscribe to the Practical Founders YouTube channel to keep up with my weekly in-depth interviews with serious software founders who are building valuable software companies without big funding. You can check out my blog, all the podcast episodes, and information about my Practical Founders CEO peer groups at practicalfounders.com, or message me on LinkedIn if you'd like to connect. See you next week.